Thank You, Mr. Whitlam, by Kat Sheely. Bruley, 2537. Narrated by Chloe Schwank. It was 1983 when I was headhunted from the private sector for a position of typist controller in an Australian Public Service APS department. I love information technology, IT, and was working for a company that installed word processing systems. I did software installation and training. At that time, my children were 2 and 3 years old, and my policeman husband had just earned a promotion to sergeant. We were paying a mortgage, trying to set up and maintain a house with a large garden, and we owned a dog. At the ripe old age of 33, life was hectic. And being a typist controller meant that I was responsible for the human resources and welfare of 24 secretaries who worked for senior public servants, while also running an old-style typing pool of 12 women of varying cultures and ages. My immediate supervisor was a delightful woman some years younger than me, and I was her only responsibility. This division of labour was due to the fact that she had a university degree and I did not. I'm not saying she was incompetent, she was not, and she was very supportive. Yet my overall supervisory load was significantly more impactful than hers, and it had significantly more impact on me, as it turned out. Let me say that a typing pool is just about the most exasperating place to supervise or undertake change. The ladies either worked on ministerial correspondence in quadruplicate with no errors allowed, or word processing long reports from handwritten, often scribbled notes. I had to ensure everything that went out was perfect, and it was challenging. Add to that a pair of early 20-something sisters who loved to smoke pot at lunchtime, and you can see the issues that might arise. In its wisdom, the department had decided that the typing pool should have glass walls so everyone could see what we were doing. The fishbowl. Even our director would come and time our morning tea and or lunch breaks to ensure we only took the allocated 15 or 45 minutes, respectively. The word draconian comes to mind, but that was the way it was. Due to staff grumbling about change and computing, I was told I needed supervisory training, an interesting concept when I'd been leading teams for several years, but you never give up an opportunity to learn, and this was a week away from the typing pool. I duly attended the then Canberra College of Advanced Education, CCAE, now University of Canberra. It was a wonderful and very useful week. At the end, the lecturer suggested that I should apply to do a degree and reminded me it would be free under Labour's educational policies. He thought I would be very good at it. I smiled at him and thought, sure, in between all my responsibilities, I will definitely have time to do a 3-year degree, but said, I'll think about it. I didn't take it seriously. A month later, the Melbourne Cup party was being sponsored by the branch head, 1 up from the director and 5 levels up from me, and we were given the afternoon off, which we happily took. As I arrived, one of the troublesome sisters with whom I did not have the easiest of relationships offered me a drink as a peace offering. I thought, naively, how nice. When a second arrived from the other sister's hand, I raised an eyebrow, but felt I couldn't reject it. 20 minutes later, I was so drunk I could barely stand. My husband, on traffic duty that day, was duly called by my supervisor to come and take me home. He arrived in a police car. You can imagine the implications of that for both of us. His instruction was, do not throw up under any circumstances. A half hour later, I arrived home with a solid lecture and no idea how I'd become so drunk so quickly. Not until the next day, when I couldn't go to work due, my doctor advised, to alcohol poisoning, did it become clear. So, not the best of jobs, not the best of people. 3 days later, I returned to work. Many of the secretaries had become aware of the issue. The sisters had been boasting. Quite a few came down to the fishbowl to see me and express their sympathy. Even my boss knew by then. But the writing was on the wall. This was not a job for me. But what to do? After a lot of discussion with my husband, I applied to undertake an intake exam for CCAE. To my surprise, I did very well and was accepted into the program for a Bachelor of Administration beginning the following February. The only reason I could do this was because Mr. Gough Whitlam, the Labour Prime Minister, had ensured university-level education was free. I left my job, to the dismay of many and to my delight. With my husband's promotion and me with a part-time job setting up and supervising an evening word processing pool for another government agency, I began my education. I loved every day there, and, over the following years, I undertook 2 postgraduate degrees, increasing my earning power. I worked in many countries, including China, India, Vietnam, and Thailand, as a construction project officer, and eventually became a project manager and consultant in IT, a job I love and worked in until my retirement 4 years ago. The sisters pulled a stupid prank, a dangerous one, but those 2 spurred me on to take advantage of something I wish young people could have today: free, or at least cheaper, tertiary education. So, thank you, Mr. Whitlam, for having a view to the future. It was certainly the making of me. The end.